Welcome to Waywut, your weekly verbal double take. This is a rabbit hole podcast where a couple of old guys do moderate to shallow dives into various topics, ranging from true crime, paranormal, sports, pop culture, or anything else that we find interesting. We drop episodes every Tuesday and on Fridays if we feel like it. You can follow us on Facebook, X, and TikTok. We appreciate you joining us. And now that we got all this self-promotion stuff out of the way, here we go. Hello, welcome to another episode of Waywut. My name is Darrell. This is my episode today. I get to do whatever I want. And here I am with one of the 0.02% of people that have cried while eating a Big Mac on the toilet in a Burger King bathroom while listening to Adele. Jason.
There's other people who cried too?
0.02%.
Wow. And at least one other person.
Yeah.
You say Big Mac in a Burger King?
I said eating a Big Mac on the toilet in a Burger King bathroom while you're crying and listening to Adele. Yes.
So I'm bringing a Big Mac from McDonald's into a Burger King to take a crap. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I don't
That's
know
dedication
why
right there.
You do weird shit.
That's commitment.
Yeah.
I had a hankering for a Big Mac on a toilet in a Burger King.
McDonald's toilet. That's just gross.
No, that's just ridiculous. At Burger King, they make it your way.
Mm-hmm. So this episode is going to be a smidge different than normal. So first, I do want to shout something out. So not that long ago, I met some of my wife's family that I'd never met before. They were in West Virginia. And while I was there, I learned that one of her cousins that I just met there actually has listened to the show.
All right.
Yeah. So thank you, Aaron. I say he listened because I don't really want to call him a fan, because whenever I offered to sign his tits, he declined. And I mean, I went and got a Sharpie, and I was like, "Come on, seriously, I'll sign your tits." And he started getting all like weird, and I'm like, "Dude, we're not even blood related. I mean, it's fine. Let me sign your tits." And
you go wash it off later.
Yeah. So I don't know if he's still gonna listen after that, but it was neat having an interaction with somebody that I didn't know that actually like listened to us. It wasn't just like a comment and stuff. I mean, he was really funny about it, and it's like, "Ooh, I'm beating somebody famous."
Who didn't have to tell you they liked it just because you're married to them?
Yeah, pretty much. It was a nice change. Well, we have lots of people say nice things about us.
Of course we do.
Well, I want to say we have consistent commenters that say nice things about us. So appreciate those.
We'll take all the comments, good or bad.
Like them all. The other thing that's going to mix this episode a bit is I am not going to begin with a rant.
What?
Mm-mm. I am going to jump straight into today's topic.
Oh, I thought you were just going to start bitching about something.
Nope. No rant. No. Well, I'm not going to start with a rant.
Oh.
But no, today I'm going over just random various statistics and studies that I found for this episode, because I like data. I like numbers. So
all right.
There's some stuff I was just kind of curious about, and I start Googling. Next thing you know, I have enough different studies and weird things to make an episode out of. So I was like,
all
okay.
Right. I like lists.
All right. Well, it's not much of a list. It's
sort of.
It's more of like a hodgepodge.
I like that too.
All right. Well, first, we're going to start this off with a few studies that tried to analyze a very common assumption about our nearest space neighbor, the moon.
Okay. What's that common assumption? Let's hear it.
Well, you've heard it. Oh, I thought about a song and it played on the radio. Oh, must be a full moon tonight. Oh, a stranger came up to me and said my hair looks like it tastes good. There must be a full moon tonight. My dad said he was proud of me. Must be a full moon tonight. Or might have been dreaming during a full moon. One of those.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, people have made associations to weird human behavior and the full moon forever. It's just like, oh, werewolves and scary things, blah, 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 blah. Well, in 2009, there was a study in Germany that looked at 23,000 cases of aggravated assault from 1999 to 2005, and it found no correlation with any of the lunar phases. There was no, they didn't, for them, it was pretty much like balance. The breakdown was 13.7% happened during the new moon, and the same percentage happened during the full moon. And then in the periods where it was waning and waxing, it was the 36.1 and 36.6%. So there's like no, the moon never
Nothing
did anything.
stands out. Yeah.
Nothing. It never made people beat the shit out of people. But that's just crazy cases in Germany. We all know German people are very calm people that never get upset.
Of course not.
And I'm saying that because we do have one consistent listener in Germany, and I want him to know that I know, or her, I know that that person is a very calm and rational person.
Hey, Dirk Nowitzki's my favorite basketball player ever.
Hey, I'm friends with a German. I married one. Technically, I did. She's just, she's got German heritage. She's a Californian.
I had a German Shepherd.
God damn it, Jason. Don't bring it down. Now, we know that Germans don't exactly represent the whole world. They're different, just like we all are. So another study was published in 2016 that pulled data across 1,737 cities in the eastern United States in 2014. So over 1,500 cities east side of the United States in 2014.
Okay.
Because, maybe the moon impacts United States different than it does in Germany because we're not as efficient as they are.
Yeah, well, maybe we're okay.
Yeah, they're like, we like to do all of our crimes equally. It's more efficient. Do it across. You cannot have surges. German person, I'm sorry if that was bad.
No, it was great.
All right. Well, the study broke things down by indoor crime and outdoor crime that happened between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. So this made sure that they weren't like having daylight kind of mess with any of it.
Okay.
And then actual, like having the moon visible during the crime. They found that the lunar cycle did not impact indoor crime. Indoor craziness was pretty consistent regardless of what the moon was doing.
Always crazy.
Yeah, it was at a pretty steady pace. They did find that as the light from the moon increased, so did instances of outdoor crime.
You can see.
Yeah, essentially, as people have more natural light at night, like the moon getting fuller, there was an increase in outdoor crime. As it decreased, the amount of outdoor crime decreased.
Makes sense.
So, yeah. And I'm sure you're asking, what is the percentage? What is the percentage changes as there's more moonlight? Well, I have no idea. The study goes over, like, whenever you look at the in depth of the study, they spend more time talking about the equation that they used to get the result. And it had this table and it didn't use percentages, and it was some sort of point system. And my liberal arts degree having ass can't understand that. If they would have had a percentage sign in the end, I'd be like, oh, I get it. But it was just like, oh, this 7 point whatever. I'm just like, okay, explain this to me. They're like, more light, more crime, less light, less crime. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, give me a good pie graph any day.
Yeah, so the study found that, more people can see at night, the more likely they are to act up when they're outside. Makes sense. If you're going to do something illegal, I'm pretty sure you want to be able to see what you're doing.
Yep.
Now, for those of you that feel like the moon is making people, animals, or electronics weird, I'm sorry. It doesn't appear that full moons make anything happen, but it is used by bad people whenever they want to play outside. All right. Well, we might be disappointed that full moons don't make people into monsters or weirdos. So let's look at some statistics regarding actual human monsters. There's a study that counted the number of serial killers in each state from 1979 to the year 2000. Serial killers, in this instance, are defined as murderers with 3 or more victims that have a cooling off period between crimes. This prevents the data from being influenced by like mass murderers and spree killers.
Okay, I got a question on that. I
Okay.
thought serial killers were all killings, but all kind of fit the same kind of
No,
genre, or they do it all the kind of same.
no. They'll change up their MOs every now and then, especially if they're active for quite a long time. But keep in mind, this is not a definition of, like we will classify you on a national registry as a serial killer. That is how they classified serial killers for this study.
Okay, anybody that killed more than 3 people is spread out.
3 or more people and having a cooling off period between crimes. Now, the top 3 states that lined up for the most serial killers were the most populous states: New York, California, and Texas.
Yeah.
We had the most serial killers during that time period.
Texas did?
We didn't have the most, but we were in the top 3.
It's all right. We still on the podium.
Yeah!
We celebrate everything. Texas pride.
Woo! Now, oddly enough, the most populated state, California, was in second place with 15 serial killers. New York beat them out with 18. And then, of course, we were a distant third with 8.
Come on, guys.
Yeah, we were. Come on, guys, do better.
Come on.
Now, keep in mind, that was like a 21-year period. I mean, I'm sure there's been more since then. It makes you feel better.
With it being that populous of the state, California, Texas, New York, and for it to be as low as you said, I was expecting much higher numbers for people to.
You're talking about a 21-year period. I mean, it's not even clocking back to like the 60s and the 50s. I mean, there's been serial killers for quite a while.
Oh, when killing was more rampant.
Yeah, they were wanting to do a quick little pocket. That's all.
Okay.
Now, another study that I found measured the number of victims of serial killings compared to the population of each state. Now, it's supposed to express the impact of serial killers on the total population. But I kind of look at it more like gambling odds.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, how likely are you going to be killed by a serial killer in each state? Place your bets. Now, the data pool of this study was from 1992 to 2019. So this one, we're looking at 27 years. And it has a looser definition of serial killers than the previous study. These serial killers only needed 2 victims and still required a cooling off period between the 2 victims. Furthermore, the motive or suspected motive had to be abnormal psychological gratification, thrill-seeking, attention, or financial gain.
Okay.
They did this so that it would remove things like gang violence. Otherwise, California and New York would just wipe everybody out again.
Yeah. Well, Texas too. We got that thug Houston weighing us down.
Maybe. All right. Well, this one found California in the top spot yet again, with the total serial killer victims at 1,777. Texas was in a distant second with 984 victims. So almost half, because we can defend ourselves.
Yeah.
But again, like before, we're talking about the states with the highest populations. You're going to expect higher numbers. And by the time in the time period of this study, we'd already beaten New York in population by then. Now, but the reason we're looking at this study is to look at the number of victims compared to population. Washington, D.C. had the highest rate of serial killer victims with 25 victims per 100,000 residents.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not something you want to put on your Zillow page.
No, it didn't say that on the sign whenever I went to DC over the summer. It wasn't like, hey,
Move here.
25 out of 100,000 people have been killed by serial killers. But this one makes sense because the vast majority of the people that work in DC do not live in DC. So you have loads of people in that area, but not as many living there. So you got it kind of beefs up the numbers. It mucks everything up. I mean, just because you got killed there doesn't mean you live there.
True. You got a lot of people coming in and out.
Exactly.
Thousands and thousands of people. Okay. I can see that.
Yeah. Now, also, the government is evil and is probably the culprit,
Of both these
and the
murders?
study doesn't want to say. Yeah. They're just kind of like, oh, no, we must have a crazy psycho thing. It's like, come on, the government's the serial killer. Admit it. And the study's like, no, I promise. And they're like looking over their shoulder. They get their grant from the government. And they're like, oh, no, the government's wonderful. All right, so we're going to put an asterisk next to that one for that particular situation because honestly, with everybody in all the surrounding states packing in there to go work and all the tourism, I don't think it should count. I think it mucks with the numbers too much.
True,
So,
but with it being a lot smaller than Texas, New York, and having that much
but
killings in that little of an area?
yeah, but think about the population. That, and I'll be honest, DC's kind of a shithole. So,
I haven't been. I
yeah,
wanted to go, but
it's kind of a
I've
shithole.
heard it's a shithole.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, it's packing a lot of people into one spot. I don't know. I don't like it. Now the next one I like better. I think it is a better representation of what we're looking at.
All right.
And it was the distant second place with 7 victims per 100,000 residents, and it was Alaska.
Okay. That's
And
pretty desolate and
yep,
not very populous.
yeah, I can't say that I'm too surprised because if I was going to be a psycho killer, I would think, I would go to the last frontier. It makes sense. You go to the closest thing that we have to a wild, wild west.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, either way, if you're worried about being killed by a serial killer, you're statistically more likely to encounter one in DC, Alaska, or Louisiana. Now, if I remember right, during that time period, like that they did this from 92 to 2019, if I remember right, I think Baton Rouge or somewhere around there had like 2 or 3 active serial killers going on at the same time.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's crazy. So it might have, that little anomaly might have beefed up Louisiana. That's why I didn't focus too much on that one.
They were
Now,
competing serial killers.
I don't think they were competing. I think one of them even like was trying to let another one get blamed for his shit. So it's like, yeah, that was totally not me. It was him. Now I don't want to end this section on a negative, so I found another study that did a similar thing to the last one, except the years covered were 1900 to 2014. So we're
Oh
talking
wow.
114 years.
That's a long time.
Now its results were still the same as the other one. DC, Alaska, Louisiana is still on top where you're most likely to get serial killed.
That's crazy.
Serial killed. But we already knew that. I sought this study out because I wanted to see the bottom of this list.
Hmm.
Now, third to last is South Dakota, where it is 0.74 victims per 100,000 residents.
Damn.
Yeah,
Found a
so
full person.
yeah, not even it's like they found 3/4 of a person and he was still alive. Like, oh God, let's keep going. Breathe, damn you, breathe. Second from last is New Hampshire with 0.68 victims per 100,000 people. Now, I'm going to say we shouldn't even count this one because New Hampshire isn't real.
No.
We know it's not real. So
I haven't been there.
we haven't. Now, I've never been there, and We don't have any listeners in New Hampshire. So it's just further evidence that it's made up. It's not real.
Yeah, have you ever met anybody from New Hampshire?
No. I've
Yeah.
met somebody from Vermont. My wife claims to have been to New Hampshire. Like she went like last month. But I didn't know if that's code for like some sort of like dong strip club, with the banana
Right.
hammocks and stuff. I don't know. I'll believe it whenever I go to New Hampshire someday. If, you know,
When
we'll
will they
see.
drop the new part? Hasn't it been around long enough just to call it Hampshire?
No, because they're still in Old Hampshire.
Which
It's
would
not called
be
Hampshire, it's just called Hampshire.
the OG Hampshire?
I mean, they're still a York. They're still a Hampshire. They're still a Mexico. Although New Mexico is not named after the country. It's named after the city. Anyways,
Okay.
the more you know.
When the rainbow come across the screen?
Now, you're slowing us down from finding out the state where you are statistically least likely to be murdered by a serial killer. So
Can I have some guesses?
if you're gonna place a bet on where you're least likely to be killed, what do you think it is?
Okay, let me have some. Okay. Well, I'm going to go with Hawaii.
You nailed it. You win. Ding 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 ding. In Hawaii, it is 0.59 victims per 100,000 residents.
What's to
So
be mad about there?
yeah. So if you need a reason to deal with Hawaii's high cost of living and amazing weather, then being less likely to be murdered by a serial killer should put you right over the edge. So yeah, I mean, and I agree because like I got drunk, passed out on a beach in Hawaii, and I'm still alive.
And nobody robbed you.
I didn't get robbed or violated
And you had a
that
drink
night.
refill when you woke up. He needs a drink.
Well, now you know everything you need to know about serial killers, statistically at least. So let's move on. Now, next, one thing I've heard periodically throughout the years is that dentists have the highest likely of eliminating themselves, you know,
Uh-huh.
boom, among, other professions as compared to other professions. They're like, oh, yeah, no, dentist. Because recently, whenever I got this thing fixed, my dentist brought it up to me. Like she sat there and says that, like, oh, you know that dentists are the most likely to do that. And I'm like, yeah, I've heard that. I hope it wasn't a cry for help because I didn't like follow up, be like, hey, are you okay? But whatever.
Like,
She seemed fine.
we,
She seemed cheerful.
yeah, well, those commercials you see with Colgate, they say 9 out of 10 dentists prefer our toothpaste.
Mm-hmm.
We now know what happened to that 10th dentist.
I
He
hate
wasn't there to
Colgate so
yeah,
much.
he wasn't there to answer the question
No,
today.
dear God. Oh, well, I can tell you now that statistically speaking, that is not true at all about dentists. They're not more likely to harm themselves. The statistic that people are quoting whenever they say that about dentists is from a report that was published in the 1960s.
Mm.
Yeah. So lots happened since then. I don't know, like 60 more years passing and like technology changing and things along those lines.
Yeah.
So, in a more recent report published in 2016 for the CDC, remember those wonderful people from a few years back? Anyways, according to them, the construction and mining industry has the highest rate of people saying goodbye, cruel world for men. And
Really?
yeah, it's 53.2 instances per 100,000 people. So more than the Washington D.C. Serial killer rate.
Construction, I could see maybe because of ease of being high up, maybe
No, I
of
don't think it's
certain
that.
place. I don't know, but mining.
I think it's just because there's a lot of people employed in that industry.
Okay, I can see that. Mining, you think
Or
there's that many
and
people?
construction's kind of up and down, you know.
Oh yeah, you could lose millions of dollars on a big project.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see that.
Now, for women, it's art, design, entertainment, sports, and media jobs with 15.6 per 100,000 people. Yeah. Now, I don't know if you caught on to this, but since men tend to off themselves, are 3 times more likely to off themselves, then it makes construction and mining industry the most likely to harm themselves among people in general. Because the men are like 15.6. Those are we can do better than that, boys. Come on.
Yeah, hold my nail gun.
Yeah.
Actually, let me hold
Let
that nail
me.
gun. Yeah. Actually, give it back. Yeah.
Yeah, I need that. Um, Another thing that I found that was kind of shocking is that the food preparation industry has seen nearly a 50% increase in answering the call of the void since from 2012 to 2015. It's like, what? Like,
High stress job.
I mean, yeah, but we did it. I don't know.
Yeah. It's also with young people. It's usually a
Yep.
younger generation job.
Yeah, and they are kind of like, they're a bit flimsy nowadays. I I'm trying to figure out a way to go on a rant about this, but yeah, with me being more active in social media now and trying to get our names out there, and having to interact with younger people, and like if I got one thing to say to the youth of America, and if we have anybody young listening, learn how to take a fucking joke.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Buck up, Bart.
All right, now let's go back to joking about, like people hurting themselves. Now, transversely from the food preparation industry, healthcare practitioners, where dentists would be counted, has seen a 2.1% decrease in those years from 2012 2015. So they're not at the top of the list, and as a matter of fact, the number of them hurting themselves is going down. Now, we all had a good laugh. None of those are good statistics, regardless of industry. If you're thinking about hurting yourself, don't call someone, family or stranger. Someone will be there for you. Message us on one of our videos. We'll talk to you. I mean, obviously, we're really good at it, so we'll make you laugh. All right. Well, let's explore something slightly less sad, but only slightly. I'm assuming that you know what the 27 Club is.
The 27 Club.
Wow, Jason.
No.
Oh, God. I hate you right now. All right. For those of you who avoid any kind of pop culture mythology, or you're retarded like my friend here, oh, wait. I'm not allowed to say that anymore. I don't care. There is a group of musicians that died at the age of 27, such as
Okay.
Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse, and Jim Morrison. Okay, you got it.
I've heard of those guys.
Now, most of the time they died, in the 27 Club because of drugs or alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
self-deletion,
Mm-hmm.
or car accidents. Well, I found a chart that has over 12,000 musicians listed in it, and it took the list from the Freebase musical artist collection. And according to, and it took all these musicians that have passed on, and it charted them on how they died and what and how they were when they died.
Okay.
Because everybody's like, oh man, everybody just like that goes out when they're 27. Well, according to the data pulled from that list, 47 musicians out of the 12,000 on that list died at the age of 27.
Wow.
The chart shows that just like, normal, not famous people, as musicians age, the number of people dying increased. So there's not an odd spike at 27 whenever you look at the line chart. It just kind of fits the trend of, like as they get older, the number of dead people just goes up and up and up and up. When you look at all 12,000, the bulk of them that, like whenever you do see the big spike and whenever when it hits its peak, 74 years old. And I was like, what? Really? I mean, like, I thought they all lived harder lives than that, but I guess not. But now that is, that number right there with 74 and 27 just kind of fitting along. That is all deaths regardless of cause. So natural causes, sickness, heart attacks, self-elimination, murder, whatever. All, that was the regular trend. So I narrowed down the causes to drug and alcohol, car wrecks, murder, and leaving this mortal coil by their own choice.
4 categories.
All right. Drug overdoses at 27 is tied for second with 33, 36, and 42 years old. First place went to 29 and 39. I guess once a musician gets on the edge of turning 30 or 40, like, oh, God.
I did take it.
No. Traffic collisions at 27 is tied for second again, this time with 39 and 41 years old. And this one, 24 years old, took the top spot by itself. They're like, woohoo, I'm a musician, I'm top of the world. And they're under a truck. Murder, once again, put 27 in second place, being beaten out by 37-year-olds. For taking themselves out, 27 is in, take a guess.
Second place.
Second place. This time tied with 31 years old. And whenever it's like, taking care of themselves, they were beaten out by 55-year-olds. They're like, God damn it, I'm not going to turn 60.
I do not want to ride a 6.
Now what I did notice is like 27 never took the top spot on any unnatural method. But whenever you add up all their second place totals, it beats the other ages.
Oh.
So whenever you mush it all together,
score, yeah.
then you do get a spike at that point. So
maybe
I thought
it's
that
called
was
the 27 Club because of the people that are in that club are pretty big in their industry.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I just thought it was interesting because even once you like I said, once you mushed it all together and everything, the myth actually has some teeth. There is a bit of a 27-year-old club. Now, I will say the data I was doing was lacking because it also didn't separate plane crash. And planes seem to hate musicians.
Very true.
Yeah, I would like to have seen how that impacted the numbers. How many of them went at 27 due to plane crashes. But yeah, it didn't have that in there for some reason. So data was like, meh.
You said impacted in plane crashes.
And you want me to like plug?
No, you said how the numbers impacted by the plane crashes.
I get it. Okay. All right. Well, let's step away from the famous people and take a huge step back so we can look at everyone. We want to get everybody in our sights now. Now, since the beginning of human beings existing, there have been anywhere between 105 and 117 billion people that have ever lived.
Wow.
Yeah. As of right now, we have over 7 billion people that, are alive and kicking right now. So I think it's kind of neat knowing that, that in reality, that's like just a smidge, it's like about 5 or 6% of like all people that ever existed in history, which, and at that point, I'm also like, if there are like 110 billion dead people, where are the fucking ghosts? Anyways, but 117 billion, that's a lot, right?
That was a lot.
Yeah, but is it though? At this exact moment, right now, this very second, it is estimated that there are 20 quadrillion ants alive right now.
Wow, they could take over.
Yeah. I mean, if ants, if they ever get bigger, I mean, because they're already organized. If they get bigger and then all of them organize together, we're screwed. I
Pretty
mean,
damn
I'm not
smart
afraid of
too.
a zombie apocalypse. I can handle a zombie apocalypse. And apocalypse, we're fucked.
Yeah.
We're done.
Have you ever seen some of the documentaries on ants and what some of the shit they can do?
Oh yeah, no, they have like their own like social hierarchy and all sorts of stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, I've seen them like all latch arms or their little arms
Oh
and
yeah,
make
and
like a
those
little
like
raft.
chain. Yeah.
Yeah, and make like a raft, and they'll float across the river all together.
Oh, there's a lot going on there that we can't understand. I mean, and it's easy to write it off because it's like, oh, they're tiny and they have like little tiny
Uh,
brains, but they're able to do a whole lot together. It kind of makes you wonder about the whole hive mind thing.
uh.
All right. Well, let's talk about some other really, really, really big numbers. If we were to combine every working computer and smart device on Earth,
Oh God,
it would be about 1 zettabyte of data, which a zettabyte is 100 quintillion bytes.
that's a lot.
That is a lot. The typical human brain can store 2.5 petabytes, which is 2.5 quadrillion bytes. So if we multiply that by 7 billion, we get 1 quintillion, 750 quadrillion bytes of available storage in all of human brains that are there right now. So that means there's 100 times more storage in all of our machines than what's in our own heads.
Wow. Just think about all the music we can download.
I wonder how many people are just like, what the fuck is he talking about right now?
You're
I'm
trying to think of
talking
all the
about like
zeros.
I'm talking about if you could stick a USB stick in your head, you can't. We have less storage in our brain than brain in our collective brains than all the collective machines. Now, here's another fun one. If you converted the history of the Earth into one calendar year, so 12 months, then human civilization would begin 5 minutes before midnight on December 31st.
Okay, say that again.
If you converted the entire history of the Earth, so since the Earth, Earth was formed, since our planet was actually formed, if you change that entire history into a 12-month calendar, January to December, human civilization would begin 5 minutes before midnight on December 31st.
Okay, so we're just another puh of
Yeah,
the
it's just
existence.
one of
We
those.
wouldn't last very long. We're like a fruit fly.
Yeah, it's just one of those interesting things. It's just like, oh yeah, we're tiny and insignificant.
Okay.
We've been around this long. I mean, I'm impressed that it was 5 minutes. So,
I usually only last two.
oh dear God, and what it meant, but okay. Now, the club 27 stats that I went over earlier,
Uh-huh.
that was based on an episode that I scrapped. I was going to do a whole episode on 27 Club, but it's just there wasn't enough there to make a whole episode out of, so took it and made it in that little chunk. Well, here's another set of stats based on a scrapped episode.
How many scrapped episodes do you have?
I've got like 4, I think, but I think I only used like a few of them in this. Honestly, I think this is the only other one I do. All right, so I'm sure everyone is aware of how deadly it can be climbing Mount Everest. There are pictures of like dead bodies that litter the trails as you get to the top.
Yeah, I just leave them there.
Yeah. Even with that, it is climbed by thousands every year. That do it, and so the kill rate, that leaves that trail of bodies is only 3%. So statistically speaking, 3 out of every 100 climbers will die while climbing it. Statistically speaking, it doesn't mean that's what will happen. Imagine more people died in the old days, and you still have to round those up. People are surviving more nowadays, but
Yeah, it's more
statistically
of a tourist
speaking,
thing now. Yeah.
3 out of 100. The odds aren't horrible, but I sure as fuck ain't climbing it. What I found interesting, though, is a mountain called Annapurna. Now, this is what I was going to make the episode about, was Annapurna. It is the 10th highest peak in the world, but it's 9 times deadlier than Everest.
Wow, harder to climb, I'm assuming.
27% of the climbers die while attempting to climb this mountain. Statistically speaking, if you climb this mountain with 3 of your friends, one of you ain't coming back.
Wow. Where is this one at?
It's like on the edge of like India and Nepal, I think, something like
Okay.
that.
So
Somewhere
in the
around there.
same range as Mount
Yeah,
Everest?
it's in the Himalayas. All the tallest peaks are, man. Yeah. But once I, read those numbers, I was like, yep, I'm never climbing a mountain. I'm just not. I will drive to the top of a mountain. I will not climb one.
Yeah, driving is much better. Looking at them is even better.
Yeah. Now, this stat is one that Jason is already well aware of. My wife came across an article about this study and asked me to send it to Jason. Yeah, it was really fortunate that she found it while I was working on this episode. It was just kind of a neat little coincidence, which is really was. I was like, what the hell? For the past 10 years, including this year, Orkin has declared Chicago as the rattiest city in the United States. Jason was very relieved to see that Dallas was number 22 on that list.
It's the reason why we live here.
Yeah. Now I wonder if Dallas being so low is because how forested we are. Dallas has the largest urban forest in the United States. We have 6,000 acres of forest.
They have places to go, is what you're saying? There's rat apartments
means
forest.
that there are places for our rats to live outside of city streets, as well as a place for their predators. We have loads of snakes and hawks.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine that Chicago has a lot of natural predators for rats the way we do. So but yeah, we're number 22. The final statistic that I would like to go over, this one got interesting for Jason and I just over, the past, 10 months, I guess.
Since March.
Yeah. Around the world, the number of podcast listeners in 2024 is 546.7 million.
Wow.
I would like to thank the 100 or so of that 546.7 million that consistently listen to us. It really makes us feel better that we are connecting with 5.4 millionth of the podcast market.
Hey, we'll take it.
Yeah.
We'll take our smidge.
Okay. Well, on that optimistic note, I'm going to be weird and wrap this episode up with my rant.
All right. One question: did it on that stat? Did it say how many podcasts there were, or just listeners?
I didn't care. I only looked up how many listeners there were. If you care, go look it up your damn self. I don't want to know how many people we're competing with. All right. So it's time for statistics guy rant.
All right. Let's hear it.
I love numbers and data. I like to learn, and I like making my decisions based on accurate information. The key word is accurate. You have to be cautious with the statistics that get quoted at you in various articles, news stories, and social media. If the election didn't teach a lot of you that, I wish you would learn, because everybody's like, oh, no, but the polls said, yeah, you can't trust all these things.
Yeah, do your own research.
There's various ways that data like this can be used to manipulate and misrepresent the actual facts. For instance, the rattiest city statistic is based on the number of treatments that Orkin does in various cities. The study and story is an advertisement for Orkin. So I don't even think it's a very good advertisement for them either. Why is the same city the worst every year? Is it because,
You're not doing your job?
They do the most rat treatments out of every other city, it's not decreasing them? Is it because Chicago is so gross that despite numerous Orkin rat treatments, they are still infested? No, I just saying that, That's where they do the most. So if anything, if I was the Oregon people and I was marketing, I'd be like, Chicago is the least likely place to encounter a rat because they use us more than everybody else. And then that could be an advertisement instead of, sitting there saying, throwing Chicago under the bus, being like, oh, yep, full of rats.
And this is where they call us to the most, and yet that's where most of the rats are.
Yeah. All right. Well, either way, I looked up the who, the why, and the how on this study, and I figured out it's not very accurate because none of this was about actually tracking rat populations. None of it. It was just based off of the number of treatments Orkin does. So it's stupid. Now, not every study is questionable because of who's doing the study. Sometimes you just leave out information. And that's exactly what I did with Mount Annapurna when I was talking about it. It's jarring to think about something that'll kill 1 in 4 people. But I didn't mention that as of 2022, it's only been climbed by 365 people. There was a 20-year period where nobody climbed that mountain. It's also a very long climb. So if you go up and down that, you travel 81 miles.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Climbing any mountain in the Himalayas costs tens of thousands of dollars. And if the trip takes that long, it's going to make it way more expensive. So is Mount Annapurna dangerous? Yes. Is it because the mountain wears a hockey mask and demands a sacrifice out of each group of climbers? No. It's just attempted rarely and doesn't have well-established paths like Mount Everest does. Yeah. I know that most people know that about data and statistics and everything that I even went over. I'm pretty sure you could poke some holes in some assertions that I made from it. But I just want to reinforce that numbers are great, but make sure you get the whole picture. Don't sit there and just hear a stat and say, oh, that must be true, because more than likely somebody's fucking with it one way or the other. I mean, like, even when, I know, like, whenever my wife there's things that whenever it comes to the actual data and like research and stuff, she wants to look at the actual study itself. She's not going to sit there and read an article about it. She's going to want to look at the study because she's smarter than I am. And like, because whenever I saw that equations, it made me say, I don't care or want to know about this. She would actually be like, I want to figure out what that says.
Well, I've had heard like 73% of all studies are made up.
It's kind of like that study that like 100% of people that breathe oxygen will eventually die.
80% of the time, it works all the time.
Okay, that's enough of that. I'm sick of hearing your coachisms.
Oh, you don't remember that on Anchorman when he's pulling out the cologne? I know. It was a Paul Rudd.
Anchorman.
It was a Paul Rudd joke. He's like,
I like Paul Rudd.
80% of the time, it works all the time.
I'm pretty sure our football coaches said that in high school. 80% of the time, it works 100% of the time, or something like that. All right, well, no more nerding over numbers. We've been doing this long enough. All my episodes tend to go so long because I just blah, 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 blah. So join us next time when you have a 30% chance of hearing Jason cry while massaging himself with a very phallic shampoo bottle, or a 70% chance of Jason telling us some stuff that'll make us say, wait, what?
There will be no tears. Well, maybe now there will be.
Okay, I think that's good on that note. Bye.
Later.
Thank you for joining us for Wait, What? If you would, tell your friends or your enemies that they can watch us on YouTube or Rumble. And if you don't want to see our face, or if they don't want to see our faces, you can listen to us on your preferred audio platform. That's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, you name it, we're probably on there. Please like, review, and comment on whatever platform you joined us on today. We'd appreciate that a ton. Again, just thank you for listening and watching. We hope you'll join us next time. We'll make you say, wait, what?